The new chapter for Kengan is out. Apologies for the audio in advance. I will try working on it, but it's probably going to be like this for a while if I'm being honest. However, to the chapter itself, Okubo versus Seki is still going on strong. We get to see the golden 8 seconds of Okubo, which is going to be the first thing I talk about because it's the first thing that this chapter opens up with. It's basically Okubo holding his breath in order to maximize his reflexes or anything of that sort. So that's it. That's it. Now, holding his breath does increase his reaction time. He thinks less during this time, of course. But again, when you think of the drawbacks and the buff that this technique gives, in most situations it's probably a big W technique. However, we get to see a lot of weaknesses when it comes to this technique, and I had my personal theories on what this golden 8 seconds would have been, and if I'm being honest, this was probably the most boring option for me, or at least the one that I didn't like. The main reason being, it's a worse version than what Setsuna and Faye can do. Now, granted, Setsuna and Faye are, top of the verse, top of the line, you know, doing some pretty insane and dangerous techniques, but Okubo is able to do that in, a far more safer way, but at the same time, it's just nowhere near as effective. We get to see its weakness, of course. One, you can't think properly, you can't calculate stuff properly while you're in this state, right? So you're basically going off of raw intuition. Basically, you're going off of raw intuition. So that's a very big weakness when it comes to that, if I'm gonna be honest. The second is the one we see in this chapter, and that is that you run out of stamina before the 8 seconds, because the golden 8 seconds is basically the maximum amount of time Okubo can go into this state. Depending on the opponent, it could even last less than 1 second, right? If his opponent lands a very strong gut punch or something that will just force him to stop holding his breath, Okubo will have to basically stop using the technique. So this technique, though I don't like it, it's a pretty balanced technique overall, right? Like I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a change, right? It's not like an awakening or removal. So yeah, it's more or less balanced, but we get to see its weaknesses that are quite obvious, honestly. But how does Seki, of course, bring about this weakness? So basically, during this 8 seconds, of course, Okubo is a powerhouse. You can't stop him, right? Basically. So Seki tries to basically tank the hits harder. That's Seki's idea. He tanks the hits harder, but by doing so, he affects Okubo's stamina. Now, Okubo during the 8 seconds doesn't notice this for obvious reasons. He's not thinking during this time. So, he runs out of air early. So, the glaring weakness, we see it here. But, that's not it. Seki comes in and hits him with a flying knee kick, which is the final panel. Which, I'm going to put the final panel. I'm gonna have to put less and less panels for the reviews, mainly because, like, if you've seen the Mysterious Dweeb's channel, he's like videos copyright strike like a lot, so I do want to avoid that. But that flying knee kick, bro, like, that has to hurt for Okubo. Now, again, I've made my allegiances clear. I think Okubo is gonna win. But I would be lying if I said I'm not in the edge of my seat when it comes to this fight. This fight, like, I think I've said it from the past review, and the review before that one, that this feels very, you could say, classic Kengan battle, right? Where I wouldn't really know what would happen in the fight, right? So in Kengan Ashura, when it came to a lot of the characters, I was very insecure about who would win, right? Besides, like, say, the main character Oma and Kano for majority of the tournament, though their fates were sealed in every like match that I watched. I was like, yeah, they're probably gonna win their battles. Here, I don't know. Seki probably could win. I think this fight has established that a lot better. However, I still am riding with Okubo. Look, I'm gonna ride this ship. It's sinking. It seems like it's sinking, but I'm gonna ride this shit out, right? So that's it. That's the chapter review. Like, sub. I'll be uploading my Tenkaichi review very soon. So look out for that.